Hello, welcome. I'm Michelle Swan-Young. I just want to talk today a little bit about why I believe that self-care is something that is so talked about. It's all over the internet and has been sort of a buzzword in our culture, Western European culture, American culture, for several years now. And most of us still don't really do it. We still don't really take fantastic care of ourselves. So I think there's two parts to this. And the first one is that I think that we do have some very prevalent misconceptions about what self-care is, what it means to take care of ourselves, and maybe some of the obstacles that keep us from trying self-care. And I go over 11 myths about self-care in my other video that is linked up here. And the other half, and I think those are important. It's important to understand. It's important to really help to take away the barriers from caring for ourselves. But I think that the second big reason is that we haven't actually changed the underlying beliefs that have kept us from taking good care of ourselves to begin with. Because if we think about well, why do we need to focus on self-care? Why weren't we already taking care of ourselves? What is it that is keeping us from just these, attending to our basic needs in so many ways? And I think it's some of these underlying beliefs and values that our society, our culture has, that we, of course, this is how we exist. We exist in community, and in many ways that's fantastic. And then there's also some different things that the community can hold that can keep us from really vital and connected living. So first of all, I want to talk about what self-care actually is so that we can sort of start out at that place. So self-care is not just something that we put on a to-do list. It's not just about our external beauty, or it's not even just about taking care of our bodies, but it's actually taking good care of our whole selves. That's definitely our bodies. It's also our minds. It's our thoughts. It's our emotions. It's our relationships. It's our sense of purpose, our sense of connection in the world. And so self-care is really quite a large thing. Really, it's just simply taking good care of ourselves. And if you are a little bit more stuck on the self-care as things to do, you might think about how you take good care of your children or your child. So this channel is for parents, and so we focus a lot about what it means to have children and how that affects us specifically as parents. And so if you think about taking good care of your child, you're not thinking about just a to-do list. Yes, you're going to feed them. Yes, you're going to change their diaper if they're young, or help them with other necessary body tasks when they're older. But it's not just limited to that. You're also going to show them that you love them. You're going to talk with them or interact with them. You're going to have this relationship with them to really nurture and care for them well. And so it's really similar for ourselves. It's not just about taking care of our bodies and making sure that our physical needs are met, which is definitely part of self-care, but it's about taking care of our whole person. And in that same vein, then self-care isn't just this list of things to do, but it's this posture that we have towards ourselves even. It's a way of going about living. It's kind of it is the underlying belief system that helps us to choose what to do at a given time or on a given day, or to choose how to interact with other people, or it helps to form so many of our decisions. And if we as humans are not believing that we have worth and value just because we exist, then we're not going to take care of ourselves just because we exist either. So in that, when I talk about the underlying beliefs, like here are some of the things that I see in the dominant culture of the United States of America and a lot of the Western culture that I think contributes to us not actually taking care of ourselves despite talking a lot about it. First of all, I think that there's so much belief still that we have to be productive in order to be valuable, and or that the amount of productivity that a person has is directly related to how valuable they are in the world. When that's true, then we're going to be focused instead of on our inner experience or on how we are going through life and whether or not we're enjoying our lives or whether we're growing or all of that kind of thing. We're going to actually be focused on our external productivity. How many things did we get done today? How many people did we impact today? You know, I had a to-do list with like 75 things on it, but I only got 15 of them done. Does that mean that am I going to be hard on myself? Am I not a good person if I keep doing that over and over again, right? Like, this is the way these sorts of beliefs keep on like creeping in, and then nurturing ourselves is always on the bottom of the list because that's not what we value. We're valuing the productivity, the outward production. So that's one of the beliefs in the dominant culture that is, I think, really contributing to us not taking good care of ourselves. Really similar to that is that the amount of activity in our lives or the busyness that we have somehow gives us more worth than people who aren't as busy. And I think that ties right into the productivity as well. For those of us who identify as women, there's this role that our society seems to expect of us, or does expect of us, to serve other people. And often that means that we're expected to serve all members of our household before we even think about serving ourselves. Before we think about taking care of ourselves, we need to take care of everyone else. And kind of along those same lines, that having needs that need meeting is more of a sign of weakness than of strength. So when we might need a break or something like that, and we realize that, like, that is seen by our culture as weakness, as like, well, why can't you just get it together? Keep on going, more productivity, right? Ignore the needs that you have. I think along with this is that in our culture, we're very individualistic rather than community oriented. And so we have this belief that we do have to do things alone. And self-care is not something that you can do alone because you have to be enabled to do it. So yes, it might be something that you do for yourself, but if someone is expecting you to take care of all of these other things, and you believe that that is what gives you your value and worth in this as a person, then you'll do all those other things before taking care of yourself. And that goes along with this belief that it's not okay to need help or to need other people. I think that's also an underlying belief in our culture that's keeping us from taking good care of ourselves. The reality is that we as human beings are created for community and for interdependence. The way that we function as humanity is to relate to one another and to need one another and to be nurtured by one another. And this very hyper-individualistic ideal really ignores all of that. And even if we do sort of individually work through these different beliefs, and we come to believe that we do need people and we don't have to be productive to be valuable, and it's not our role to only serve other people, but we can also serve ourselves, and we are interdependent. Even if we, like as an individual, so even if you change your beliefs, everyone around you, maybe not everyone, the society, the culture around you is still holding on to those things. And so it makes it incredibly difficult to actually practice true self-care when all of the society around you is working against that. So that's kind of why I think that, for one, that self-care had to be a thing to begin with, and why it still is a thing, and why it's still important for it to be a thing. And also, why it's still so hard, and why still so many of us are not truly able to take good care of ourselves in our day-to-day lives. I want to end on an encouraging note, though, because I do believe that this whole focus on self-care and bringing it up as a community and having all of these things on the internet and whatever else about self-care and the books and the blog posts and whatever, I think it's actually a crucial starting point, because we're starting to have the conversation. And as more and more people take small actions and begin to incorporate this into their lives and do start to unravel those false or mistaken beliefs and believe more in the value of every person inherently rather than because of their productivity, then I do think that that will eventually, long term, serve to change the beliefs of the culture, and that we can each individually be a part of that by living our lives just a little differently every day, and by taking just a tiny bit more care of ourselves than perhaps we did last year or yesterday. So thank you for exploring this with me. I would love to hear your reflections and your comments in the comment section below. Again, if you want to hear more about some of the myths about self-care, you can watch that video. It'll be also linked at the end on the end screen. Hit like if you like this video and subscribe, and have a wonderful day. Take good care.